Want to know 5 hacks for when it comes to wholesaling houses listed with real estate agents so you can wholesale more deals without having to spend any money in marketing? In today's video, I'm actually here with Tim, my producer. He's going to give me 5 questions from our coaching clients that we discussed this past week inside of our community. So Tim, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's dive into it.
Question number 1, should I rely on just working with one agent?
So when it comes to wholesaling from the MLS, you do not want to rely on just one agent. So most people, what they do when wanting to wholesale houses on the MLS, they think they need to get a buyer's agent, right? So typically in a real estate transaction for a normal home buyer, there's a listing agent selling the property that's for sale, and then there's a buyer's agent representing a buyer. Now, there's typically 2 agents, right? Most wholesalers think, hey, I need to get a buyer's agent that reaches out to these listing agents because that's what normal people do. That's how retail transactions work. And you do not want to do that. You do not want to get this buyer's agent, only one that you work with, because there's probably dozens of distressed properties right now in the market that you can wholesale, you can get under contract. But if you only have one buyer's agent reaching out to all of those different listing agents, you're now putting your whole entire business, the likelihood of your business succeeding, the likelihood of you getting these deals under contract, all in the hands of that one buyer's agent. And typically buyer's agents have other clients. And so the time of day that you need in order to get these properties under contract, they probably cannot give that to you, whether they're a great person or not. The beautiful thing about the MLS is when used the right way, you can contact all of those different listing agents who are in charge of those distressed properties that are perfect for wholesaling. You can contact that listing agent directly. You can give them a call and begin working with them directly. What that does is it removes any middleman from this conversation, from this transaction process, and that's going to increase the likelihood tremendously of you being able to get deals under contract by working with multiple listing agents that have listed houses for sale on the market that are active, that we're continually working with to get these deals under contract, because once they're under contract with these listing agents, we can then wholesale them. And a big pro tip too, a lot of amateur wholesalers or beginners, they will try and make you sign an exclusive buyer's agent agreement, which says if you put any properties under contract, if you find any properties, if they send you any properties, then they are due a commission, right? They're going to be your buyer's agent. So do not sign that. What I've seen a lot of times, that buyer's agent will have you sign that, and then they'll just blast you with all of these properties, which you can easily find yourself. And then technically, if you sign that agreement and you put that property under contract, they are then due a commission. So you severely limit yourself in your ability to close these deals when you have an exclusive buyer's agent for all deals on the market. So definitely do not do that.
Question number 2, how do you get price expectations from agents up front on the MLS? And how do you incentivize an agent to give you more info?
Here's why you want to do this, right? I was the beginner wholesaler that would find a great distressed property that's on the market, that's active, start to take photos of it, analyze it, see if it would work for me. Then I'd call that real estate agent and talk about a price now that I analyzed it on where I can come in at. And it would be the first contact I ever had with that listing agent. What that does is it wastes a lot of time, because in those scenarios, I've had agents tell me, hey, you're way off with your price. Yet I spent hours going to the property. I could have been calling on more distressed deals, getting them under contract. What we want to do to get those price expectations is to actually call the agent before we ever go to a property. How we do that is through what we call our discovery call. And on a discovery call, right, if I find a new distressed property that's on the market, it looks perfect for wholesaling, I'm going to call that agent and I'm going to talk about the deal. I'm going to see what type of work does it need, and do the photos that's on the MLS or on the market, does it actually match the current condition, right? Is it actually distressed, right? That's very important, because I'm only trying to go after cash deals. Those are perfect for wholesaling. And I don't want to go after a deal that's renovated or a normal home buyer can buy it, because then I'm competing with the rest of the market. When we're talking about the deal with the agents, right, I'm also getting the seller's motivation, but specifically, what are the questions we can ask the agent to get the price expectations up front from them? Here's another thing that's very important to understand, is that the list price is flexible. Right? A property might be listed for $400,000 on the market. Doesn't mean it needs to be put under contract at $400,000. For example, right now we have a deal under contract. it's $100,000 below the list price. So that list price is absolutely flexible. In order to talk to this agent, get those price expectations, I just ask the agent up front on the phone conversation, I say, and what price do I need to come in at today to get this property under contract? This is a very important question to ask. And, if you're licensed or you work with real estate agents, you might be thinking, hey, you can't ask that, they can't tell you. But in my experience, a lot of the times they do tell you, or might give you some hints. And hints are all I need to beat out my competition. Hints are all I need to get the appropriate price expectations. So sometimes the agent will tell you the lowest price, and it might be $50,000 below the list price. Right now, they tell me a price, I'm always going to follow up and say, how flexible is that price? So understand, I'm not asking a yes or no question here. I'm asking how flexible is it? Because now they might come down in price even more. They might say, you know what, 425 rather than 450 might work, right? It might be a little bit flexible, right? I'm kind of testing how malleable is this offer price. And then from there, I'm going to say, and is the seller willing to accept offers lower than that price by any chance? Right? So now I'm saying, will they accept anything lower than 425, right? Maybe now they say 400, but that's the bottom line. So now I've effectively talked about price expectations, what they expect on a phone conversation before ever going to the property, before ever analyzing it. So now that I know, hey, is it worth analyzing, right? Am I in this ballpark range of where the agent's telling me where I need to be at? Now that's a green flag. Now that's basically permission for me to now start analyzing it. It's going to be a property worth pursuing if it's in that ballpark range. And a lot of times agents will say, Alex, I can't tell you that. Then I'll follow up with say, can you give me a ballpark range by any chance? They'll generally give you a ballpark range in that scenario, right? We have a lot of strategic questions that we ask on our discovery call in order to figure out all this information about the deal, the seller's motivation, and the price. Tim, what's that link again for the discovery call script so we can give it to everyone?
It's realestateskills.com/discovery.
We'll make that downloadable in the description down below so you can grab that. Why would an agent tell you these price expectations up front? Well, what we always do is incentivize the real estate agent, incentivize them to go with your offer. And we do that through something called dual commission. So one of the first questions you want to ask is this listing agent open to representing you as your buyer's agent? So the first question I got asked from the community was, do I only work with one real estate agent? This is the power of not working with one real estate agent. If you work with one buyer's agent, talking to that listing agent, you can't incentivize the listing agent with a second commission, dual commission, to make twice as much money. And we ask them if they're open to representing us as their buyer's agent. So in this case, they'll make twice as much money. Typically, they'll earn 2.5% to 3% commission for just listing and selling a property. And what I've even done, you can incentivize them through triple commission. What you can say is, hey, if I'm able to close this deal with you, not only can you represent me as my buyer's agent, once we fix and flip the property, you can get the relist. Meaning, once my cash buyer fixes and flips the property, they get to relist the property and earn a third commission. Now, a lot of the times I'll make that flexible. That won't be like a 2.5%, 3% commission. That'll be a 1 or 1.5% commission. But now, from working with one person, one real estate investor, this agent can make 3 commissions instead of 1 commission. So that's how we like to incentivize real estate agents every single day.
What if agents that I contacted from the MLS are short or rude on the phone?
Great question. Happens all the time. The number one thing is don't take it personally. Understand that they're having a bad day. That's not a reflection of you. That's not a reflection of how you're showing up. It's a reflection of them. What we need to understand is that there's over 1 million active real estate agents in the US. So if you don't jive or connect with one real estate agent, that's completely fine. And right now there's dozens of distressed properties in your market listed with another real estate agent that if that one conversation doesn't go the way that you want, just pick up the phone, call that next real estate agent, call that next deal, and then you'll probably have a pleasant conversation with them. So the most important thing is don't take it personally. Just because someone's having a bad day today doesn't mean they're gonna have a bad day tomorrow. So maybe you follow up with that person tomorrow, they're having a much better day and are willing to talk real estate. Additionally, kind of a more advanced thing, right, where we go with our students and our clients is to really mirror and match conversations. This agent who's from the East Coast may only respect you if you're blunt and straightforward back to them, and if you match their tonality. If this agent saying, hey, I just want to talk about the numbers, then you just talk about the numbers. We're all the way in California, right? Sometimes we get agents from New York or the East Coast, or maybe a lot more blunt and straightforward. And someone who doesn't have experience might mistake that bluntness or straightforwardness as someone being rude or someone who's mad or someone who's angry, right? You might have to speed up your tonality. You might have to talk more forcefully. Mirroring and matching and being a chameleon with these real estate agents is super important.
Question number 4, is not having access to the MLS a big deal in the beginning?
Great question. The MLS, it's the database of all leads on the market in your area. We love it. We love to use it. We've used it for 12 years. But by no means should that be a roadblock to you getting started to start wholesaling houses that are listed with real estate agents on the market, right? On the market and listed with real estate agents, it's synonymous with MLS deals. If you use redfin.com or zillow.com or realtor.com or homes.com, these are websites that actually pull MLS listings from the MLS, and active properties are on the market, are on there, and you can absolutely just start there with Redfin using these free websites. I have clients that do over 6 figures a month just utilizing those free websites. Don't stress about getting access to it in the beginning. There's multiple ways to get access to the MLS, and eventually, right, any real estate investor worth their salt is going to have access to the MLS because there's more information on there. A lot of times it's easier to comp properties to understand values, and generally there's more active listings on the MLS in your area than Redfin, Zillow. So it increases your likelihood of being able to find more deals that you can wholesale. Don't let it be a roadblock. You absolutely don't need access to the MLS to be able to wholesale houses that are listed with real estate agents and houses that are on the market. Utilize any source that you have, utilize Redfin, Zillow, and then get great at analyzing properties, get great at finding and filtering properties, get great at sending quality and professional offers, get great at having quality phone conversations with these agents where you extract this information from them, you build rapport, you build trust, you build credibility. Those are the factors that are going to help you and assist you to get this deal under contract.
I got a deal under contract from the MLS, sent it to a lot of cash buyers, but nobody wanted it. What did I do wrong?
Number one, easiest one is your numbers are off. Especially if you're just starting out wholesaling houses from anywhere, but especially, on the MLS, you probably locked it up under contract at too high of a price. Working with agents, maybe you took the agent's word and locked it up at the list price when the list price was not a profitable number for a fix and flipper to fix and flip it at and to make a profit on, right? Maybe you didn't analyze it effectively. The second thing kind of goes with the numbers, but more so, you probably didn't talk to your cash buyers on exactly what they want. If you talk to your cash buyers on exactly what they want, meaning where they like to buy property, so what zip codes, what areas, what cities, what county, what bed and bath count, what square footage, then generally you're going to send them a property that they want to buy, an area that they want to buy. So a lot of the time, might start on the MLS and find a property out in the boonies, acres and acres of land on it. Cash buyer's not going to want that property. And if you would have talked to your cash buyers beforehand, they're going to tell you why they don't want that property, because there's no comparable properties. They don't flip farms, right? They just don't want that type of property. So what you want to do is talk to your cash buyers first, understand what types of properties that they want to buy. And generally you're going to see that they want to buy the 3-bed, 2-bath houses, right? Around 1,500, 1,200 square feet. You're going to find that they want the houses in the good zip codes and areas that are appreciating. So second thing is you probably didn't talk to your cash buyers. It's probably not in an area, this house, that they don't want it. It's probably an area that they don't want. And then number 3, a lot of people leave their deals up to hope and chance. I don't do that. So when I have a deal under contract, I'll send an email to my cash buyers on all the information that they need to know about the property, right? What's the address? How do they view the property? Photos of the property if I visited it, right? Additional photos that aren't on the market or on the MLS. I'll send them the contract deadline, so the EMD, the closing time frame, the inspection contingency. I'll send them all the information they need. The big 3 numbers, right? The ARV actually is, the repair costs, and then their purchase price for the property. So that at a glance, they can look at this email and understand everything they need to about this deal and can come to a decision whether they want to buy this property or not. If I would have left it up to chance, and this is what a lot of beginners do, a lot of beginner wholesalers, right? They'll send an email to 100 cash buyers. They'll not have any phone conversations with them. And you're leaving those 100 cash buyers, them closing this deal and you wholesaling it up to chance. Do not leave it up to chance. Follow up with a phone call. And so with those 3 things, right, those are typically the 3 reasons why you send a deal out and cash buyers don't want it. 1, your numbers are off. So let's get better numbers. 2, you sent them a deal that they don't want in an area they don't want. We solve that by actually talking with them and understanding their buying criteria. 3, you're probably not sending them all the information that they need to make a decision. And then you're also not following up with them with a phone call to sell them on the deal, to walk them through the deal and have them feel more comfortable in this deal that you brought them. Those were the top 5 hacks for wholesaling houses from the MLS. And I think there was a lot of golden nuggets in there, maybe more than 5 hacks. So be sure to grab that discovery call script that we've been using to close deals all across the nation so you can talk to real estate agents like a pro. If you want to see what it takes to build a 6 to 7 figure real estate investing business with our help, go to realstateskills.com/programs and you'll be able to check out what we have to offer and how we can work with you side by side to help you build your real estate investing business. Thank you, everyone. This is Alex Martinez with Real Estate Skills. I'll see you in the next one.